Going live from Zoom into Facebook is just such a nightmare now. They made it so it was so easy, like you could just literally hook it up, but now you have to go like via this ridiculous long streaming key, which is a pain in the butt. Anyway, right, we are live. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining me. I'm just saying to poor Angela here that my brain is just in cuckoo land today. But we are with the wonderful, the most amazing Angela Crawford, and I'm super excited for today's talk because we're talking about the transition and navigating social situations as a vegan and plant-based person, someone who might be just dabbling to the very well experienced vegan, any social situation, and just helping navigate that. So we have Angela Crawford, who is a vegan lifestyle coach and educator, and of course psychologist. So she is going to know all of the ins and outs of our brain, and so we get to really pick her brain and understand like what's going on and how we can navigate this successfully. So thank you so much for coming on. Really appreciate your time and sharing all of your wisdom and knowledge with us today. So would you like to introduce yourself, because you've got PhD, you're a psychologist, there's so much going on. You're so incredible, and I would love to hand that over to you so I don't do you any wrong justice.
Oh, well, thank you. I'm first of all really excited and happy and honored to be here. So thanks. I'm glad we met and you invited me.
Of course.
Um, yeah, I've been a psychologist for over 25 years, and until recently, I'd been a psychotherapist for most of that time, helping clients with all kinds of things, from medical issues to trauma to anxiety to stress, and over recent years, my life has changed a bit because first I became vegetarian and then vegan. And, for me, it was more for ethical reasons, but I very quickly discovered the health reasons for it too, because although I happened to be fairly healthy at the time I first became plant-based and then later fully vegan, I have a family history of heart disease, and I was not a healthy eater before. I used to just eat like a lot of comfort food and sweets and convenience foods, and I wasn't yet old enough to fully see the consequences of that, but I am pretty sure had I not, gone vegetarian and then vegan many years ago, like I would be facing some of the challenges that my family has faced with health, as we age. So I'm really blessed, and what I've discovered over time too is to eat a healthier and healthier version of that.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes when, like for me, my biggest motivation was learning what happened to animals in agriculture, but I also discovered I'm an animal too. I'm a sentient being too. And like, if I don't take care of this body, mind, and spirit, like I'm not going to be able to do what I want to do in the world or have the impact that I want to have or be able to do what I love, So I've learned to eat a healthier and healthier version of it, moving more towards whole food, plant-based. And in fact, right now, you mentioned trainings. I love to train and things. And so right now I'm in a program run by Physicians Committee for Responsible Medicine, their Food for Life training. And so I can teach cooking classes in my area because I want to help others, have more health, bringing that whole mind, body, spirit thing all together. So
I
I'm really
love
honored to
that.
be here and, glad to talk about this topic, because one thing that has struck me, Bianca, is that I've read research that the majority of people who don't stay plant-based or stick to their lifestyle goals, it's because of social challenges, because they don't, and especially with plant-based, because we're still a minority in the world, even though it's growing, in popularity. And so the biggest deterrent for people, I've learned through reading different research studies, is like handling social situations where everyone is eating differently than you.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm really excited to be here and like us talking about this topic so that like the people in your group can think about what their challenges are and how do they, I don't know, stick to their goals and their, what they're really wanting for themselves.
Yeah, exactly. And whether you're in this group because you're trying to get healthier as a vegan, or you're turning towards a more plant-based lifestyle, or even just adding more plants into your diet, I feel like this talk is going to be incredibly valuable because it can transfer. It's like the skills and knowledge that we're going to talk about today can transfer over onto the dieting world as well. So you've got the navigating social situations as someone who is vegan, is transfer is transitioning over to plant-based, adding more plants in, or someone who is trying to diet and trying to lose weight and be healthier. either way, I mean, please correct me if I'm wrong, but I still feel like it's the same sort of like awkwardness, the same sort of barriers, the same sort of situations and conversations that you must have with other people, and the barriers and boundaries with yourselves as well, to really respect your choice. And I think that's what it boils down to, right? Is speaking up for what you have chosen, whether it's vegan, plant-based, whole food, or a diet. All of this can kind of overlap.
Yes, yeah, definitely. I think, before even like thinking about, well, how will I communicate differently or how will I handle Christmas or, whatever the challenge is, and think about what, for those listening, I'd invite you to think about what are your challenges or the things you fear will be a challenge if they haven't already been. But it starts first, I think, with the mindset, even before you get to communication, because if like we don't get in a mindset that we matter and our goals and values matter, we're going to get swept into like pleasing others, and it's kind of wired in us. We are social beings. We need social connections. They're
Hmm.
essential for our thriving. So it's not all bad that we're kind of wired to want to fit in and want to do what those around us are doing. It's kind of a normal thing, but where it becomes a problem is if we're trying to be healthy and the rest of, and compassionate and whatever else our goals are, and everyone else around us is eating the way of the status quo, the standard American or standard Western diet, with lots of unhealthy foods, hyper processed foods and, meat and dairy and, lots of high fat foods. We're trying to be different than that, for whatever our goals and motivations are, it's a challenge. So we have to start with like that we matter, and this was a challenge for me, I have to say. I didn't think I was a people pleaser until I tried to eat differently than everyone around me. And then I suddenly realized there was this part of me that didn't want to stand out at a family gathering or whatever. I had to kind of overcome that and decide my values and needs mattered more than my fitting in or keeping the peace. And not that you can't keep the peace, you can learn how to do that too, probably. But first comes like I matter, and really coming to that, and then my goals matter, and then yeah, just giving in this one time. Okay, maybe I won't die, but if I keep giving in this one time again and again, what's the consequences?
Hmm. Hmm. Absolutely. Really interesting that yesterday my partner actually had the first experience of saying no to something that he was presented with. So he does a lot of conferences and stuff like that where food is provided. And
Mhm.
9 times out of 10 from his reports, they get it wrong. And they just deliver out like the same plate as everything else. And typically he'll, because he's only like recently transitioning like mentally, like we eat whole food plant-based at home. That's not a problem, but when he's out, and so he's had that disconnect of like, this is what I eat at home, this is what I eat outside. And yesterday he messaged me and said, like, for the first time, I kicked up a fuss. And I was like, he didn't kick up a fuss, but it was like, no, it's fine. I just won't eat. And so they went, well, okay, we'll go and make you something. He's like, okay, thank you. And that was the first time.
Wow.
And it's exactly what you said. He said, I just don't want to make a fuss. I don't want people to have to fuss over me. But I think it's really important that you mentioned, like, you do matter, right? Whether your angle is for the animals or not, your choice and your decision also matters.
Yes.
And you say that comes from a people-pleasing angle?
Yeah, I mean, I think we may not always think, some of us know we're people pleasers, others might not think we are, but there is a wiring, regardless, that we as humans want to fit with our tribe, if you will, and not stand out too much. I think, and from an evolutionary or long-term standpoint, there's probably a safety reason for that, to want to fit in and kind of blend in, go along. But on the other hand, we're in a different stage now in our world where, you know, it's not necessarily dangerous to be different. I mean, in there are moments it can seem that way, but we need to overcome those fears and kind of be like, okay, I can do this in a way that honors my relationships and that I care about the people in my life. Yet I also care about me and I'm going to stand to what I need and speak up for it, and it's practice too. Like for me personally, like when I decided first to stop eating meat and then later made some other changes to be fully plant-based and moving towards a healthier and healthier whole food, plant-based as much as possible. You know, I had to speak up before gatherings and maybe take the host aside beforehand to say, hey, you know, I'm eating this way now. I'd love to bring something to share, or, you know, or if they said, oh no, I can do it, make sure they understand what it means exactly to be a whole food, plant-based, you know, person, vegan, whatever you are. So just kind of being able to be, I think being proactive is a huge piece of it. Don't just wait till you show up to see what's there, you know, and like you described the situation of, yeah, you could speak up and they may not have followed through, you know, and then have a plan of how will you handle that, you know, will you know, bring something along so that you're not starving if there's nothing there that you would want to eat.
One of my clients is an absolute angel for this. She's fantastic. If she goes out quite regularly with her friends, and they'll all go to different places for lunch, and she will always be looking at the menu, always be calling them and saying, what are your options? And she said to me a few times, like, I've called them and they say, oh well, we can have this, and she's turned around and said, well, that's not enough for me, so can I either bring my food or I'll just take the girls somewhere else? And they, 9 times out of 10, she was like, 9 times out of 10, they will accommodate and bring something in and buy something in and make me something, because they don't want to lose the money, right? And so I think
Yeah.
when push comes to shove, restaurants and establishments like that will serve. I've spent 15 years in hospitality myself.
Oh,
I,
really?
yeah. Oh God, yeah. 15 years in hospitality, 15 years of serving bars, cafes, pubs, restaurants, you name it, fine dining. Um, I think from like the majority of what I've worked in is if you give them notice and you speak to them beforehand, they can do something about it. But there's only so much that they can do with the ingredients at hand. A lot of stuff is already pre-prepped, right? That's just how that's the nature of the business. They can't make everything from scratch every single moment it's been made, right? So
Yeah.
really, really valuable that you mentioned about like, you know, speaking to them properly in one-to-one, as opposed to like just chucking the waitress or the server who might be new, who might not know the place, they might just be part-time, they might not even care. And it's
Yeah.
like really speaking to someone ahead of time and when you get there is really important.
Yeah, no, 100%. And, you know, by being proactive, whether it's a social gathering, a restaurant, you know, and doing your research ahead of time, it just helps you make sure you're cared for. And then, yes, you're right. Often restaurants will accommodate if you're really clear and direct, and you kind of, especially if you aren't waiting last minute, but often too being creative. There's lots of times different foods on the menu that would be plant-based that you could have put together in a way that could meet your needs, you know. So sometimes it's just being creative too.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and we're teaching people as we do it because, you know, look at the health crisis, you know, I'm wherever you live, I'm in the US, you're in the UK, correct? I know here we have a health crisis. So you look around and many people are suffering from health issues that are often lifestyle related. And by you speaking up for your needs, you might be planting a seed for someone else.
Yeah, absolutely. You don't know who you're going to help if you don't ask is kind of my motto, especially
Yeah,
with being online.
yeah,
But also you just don't know whose life you're going to affect or
yeah,
change or just influence, right? Whether it's a gathering like that, whether it's a gathering at a friend's house or speaking to the server, you never know. That server might go home and be like, oh, that's interesting. I'm going to look that up. And then it's like this ripple effect. I
yeah.
love that. I love that. Now I know that you've got loads of notes, and I feel like I'm probably taking the direction away. So,
Oh,
what else do you have for us?
well, sure. I'm glad to share. And if there were specific questions that relate to your audience too, please feel free to throw those in because that's what's most important.
Hmm.
You know, we've actually talked about a couple of them because I would say you know, the inner work of remembering your why, that by why your motivation, you know, so always staying connected with that. That's one thing that I do personally, and I encouraged, you know, when I worked with clients and when I teach, is like, what is your why? You know, and more than just like the general why, like, oh, I want to lose weight or I want to be healthier. Go even deeper with it. You know, like, why do I want to lose weight?
Yeah.
What will I be able to do once I lose weight? Why
Hmm.
do I want to be healthier? How will that help? What matters to me? And really hold that picture of the you that is healthy, vibrant, doing what you love, making a difference for what you care about, standing for what you value, all the, go deeper with it and then write it out in a statement or have a collage or image that represents it and connect with that regularly, because that's going to give you that added motivation when you're in the social situation to figure out a new way to navigate it, because it is new. Like when we change our lifestyle and we're suddenly in social situations that once we just went along with what everyone else did, because we just did, and now we're doing it differently because we're being proactive about how we eat and our choices in food. You have to have a motivation for doing that. So knowing your why will help you like say, okay, this is hard at first, how do I speak up to family? How do I handle these different situations? But if I know my why, I'm more motivated to figure it out and to do what maybe is hard at first. Whether that be just be more assertive and set a boundary, or discover a new way to celebrate holidays with your family. Like maybe if they eat a certain way at Thanksgiving or Christmas or whatever your holidays are, and you're not going to eat that way, like you either bring a lot of side dishes that you can eat, or maybe you plan that you're going to join friends who are on the same eating plan as you for the main part of the holiday and see your family afterwards for like, I don't know, just coffee and a snack or something, or not even food at all. Just you find ways to stay connected to people while honoring your goals and your values. So
Yeah,
that,
I'm just writing that down for the little summary like that I like to write up and give
yeah,
in the
definitely. So I
post.
think that why, will motivate you to then figure out the how,
Yeah,
and
absolutely. And
just keep reconnecting.
yeah, and I love the fact that you said that, because there's something that I always say. It's like, imagine if you went and spent time with your friend, maybe like you go around families or you go around a friend's house and you all order a pizza, right? It's all sitting there, the pizza's there, and you're all talking, you're all eating the pizza. Imagine if you took the pizza away, would you all sit there in deadly silence, staring each other up and down? Like let's remove the pizza. Like, what would
Mhm.
happen? Would you carry on talking? Would you just sit there? Would you maybe fiddle with your hands or something and carry on talking? The conversation will still flow, and you're creating connection. Or
Yeah.
when you take the pizza away, does all of that go and you all just sit there in awkward silence? Probably
Yeah.
not. And then, so what I like to like show to people is that just because food is present, whether it's at Christmas, at a birthday, whatever it is, just because food is present doesn't mean that that is the thing that's connecting you. And we lose
Yeah.
so much
Yes.
focus on the connection and the relationship. We think it's about the food, but it's not. It's
Yeah.
about the connections.
What you're saying is really important. It's rethinking it. What do holidays and getting together really mean on a deeper level?
Mm.
I might
I,
associate it with certain foods because it's been there, but really the
mm,
deeper thing that matters is the connection. And what are other ways that I can spend time with people that connects with them?
hmm
Or if it is around food, maybe I can bring some great, delicious foods that are plant-based that people will also enjoy, but it doesn't have to be food, as you're pointing to.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and we can, I mean, we can make so many great alternatives, right? I literally whipped up a couple of recipes last Christmas to bring round, like, some simple like fake bacon Brussels sprouts that's actually healthy
Mhm.
using whole foods and stuff like that. But yeah, there's so many alternatives that you can bring. But I do think focusing on the connection as opposed to the food is really important. And I was just going to say, it's not our fault. I don't feel like it's our fault that we think that the food is the connection. I think
Mhm.
it's like it's shops and
Yeah.
grocery stores and the TV and like, I mean, the Coca-Cola truck, for God's sake. It's like, oh, it's not Christmas until the Coca-Cola truck comes out. Like,
Yes.
what? So it's not Christmas until diabetes rolls down the street on wheels.
Yes.
Like,
It's all the messaging, like you say, through advertising, through our upbringing, through lobbyists, through just, even permeating into movies and, just everything in our culture. It's so tied together. You're right.
absolutely. Absolutely. Anything else that you've got there for us?
Well, I think like groups like this are so important because that's another piece of the puzzle because, social challenges are the biggest obstacle for most people in staying the course on their lifestyle change, and then especially with a plant-based lifestyle. Um, So having a good support network like this,
Mm-hmm.
of people who are sharing a similar goal and similar, I guess, direction, it's so important because there'll be a lot of people around you that don't get it. And so when you're around others that do get it and understand where you're coming from and are supporting you, they can give you insights on how you might handle these situations. They give you the inspiration and knowing you're not alone. I mean, I think it's probably one of the biggest factors in helping people stay the course, of a lifestyle change, and especially for this lifestyle change, because I mean, I didn't really mention it, but there's just so much societal conditioning around eating a certain way, and particularly around eating meat. So when you're eating differently, you're going against a lot of cultural norms, which, norms are just constructed by society. It doesn't mean they're right or healthy. They're just
Mm-hmm.
what are kind of things that we've become accustomed to. And so you're going against that. And so, as you're doing that, having other people who are on that journey with you will give you that added support and motivation and encouragement that helps when maybe you're feeling discouraged or wondering, like, what am I doing here? No one in my family's eating this way, and I, can't seem to get them to change. How do
I think most people are thinking that when they go around, and then it's like, oh yeah, it'll be nice to get to the family together, and then all of a sudden everyone's together, everyone's thinking, oh my God, why am I here?
Yes.
But perfect thing, like literally, me and my partner have, well, I can't take credit. My partner's literally cooked seitan today, right? So if I was to go around a family member's house, there's vegan gravy and I've made myself seitan, so we can still enjoy it. But again, it's about the perception of like, does it really freaking matter that the bites that I'm taking is different to their bites? And
Mm,
like, why should that matter?
yes. Yeah. Yeah. It's true. Other than, yeah, that whole conditioning, and maybe it puts a mirror up for other people that they're not really ready to look at sometimes.
Hmm.
Where they have to question what they're eating, and does it really make that much sense? Is it really that good for me, or or the environment, or what,
That's
so.
always a fun conversation. It's just like, oh, so you're okay with like killing animals and eating that? It's like all of a sudden it's just like this barrier is like, no, I'm gonna decide to remain ignorant. I don't want to listen. I don't care. It's like, okay, that's some fun conversations. I might be throwing you under the bus here a little bit. And please, you don't have to answer if you don't want to. But I feel like a lot of the transition and social situations is a bit about boundaries as well. I mean, while I'm a health coach and habit coach, I don't do a whole lot around boundaries. Is there anything that you would be able to share or shed light on with
Mhm.
boundaries?
Yeah, no, that's important. Yeah, like, so one aspect of boundaries is that, starting with that I matter, that we talked about earlier, because it's hard to set a boundary if you don't decide you matter and your needs and your values matter and you're kind of connected with what those are. So,
Hmm.
so it starts with your inner work. And then I think it's like realizing, like, and some of us are empaths and, highly sensitive people too. Like, I mean, I know I relate to that. So I always feel like I can sense what other people feel and need very easily. And sometimes like that has led me to act in ways that are caring more about others' needs than my own.
Hmm.
And so it's been a journey for me. And I worked on this a lot with clients over the years, of just, okay, so I matter. What are my feelings and needs? And where do I need to kind of say no to something that is just not feeling aligned or right for me? And so part of it is the willingness to say no to things that don't feel right, or to say I'm okay with this part of it, but not this other part, or I'm willing to get together with you for the holiday, but I'm not going to eat this. Um, I'm
Sorry,
willing to
I'm
do
just
this if we do it
typing up
this way, but
notes.
not that way. And I
Hmm.
think part of that too is learning assertive communication. It makes it easier to set a boundary with someone if you learn what's called assertive or nonviolent communication, which is basically like being able to honor your feelings and needs and make clear requests of people. Um, and at the same time, you're honoring other people's feelings and needs. You're not trying to like change them, but you're being clear about what your needs are so that there can be a healthy I don't know, decision or ground rules maybe, or understanding. I mean, so setting boundaries isn't like I change you, if you like if I'm plant-based and I'm going to make you be plant-based too. I can't make that happen if the family member or whoever doesn't want to be, but I can have some ground rules about how I'm treated, about how, like no one's making fun of me at the meal for what I eat or something, if that were to happen. I can speak up in private and use assertive, nonviolent communication techniques to share my feelings, needs, and wishes, and decide even if I need to kind of set space with someone if they're not honoring, my dignity and treating me with respect. So it's sort of a mixture of knowing your inner worth and being willing to speak for it and speak for what you need. And then also learning good skills for how to do that, because we don't need to be aggressive and attacking to do it. Sometimes I think at first when we go from being passive and not speaking up, it's easy to
Mm.
go to the other extreme and like, oh, I'm going to attack
Don't
you.
do that. Don't speak to me like that. It's
Yes,
like,
exactly. There's
and
other ways to do it to give people the benefit of the doubt, but still be clear and direct and firm.
yeah,
Respectful to them, but respectful to you too.
yeah, yeah, totally, totally. And yeah, I mean, I've spoken to people before, and it's like it's exactly what you said, right? It's know what assertive communication is, and it's just being sure of yourself and what you want,
Yeah.
but not. I've also heard as well is like always use the I when you're communicating with someone
Yeah.
else.
Yeah.
It's
I
like,
language is a great way to go about it. This is, I'm feeling, I'm needing. Even
yes,
sharing
yeah,
your
I
story
feel.
a little bit, I became plant-based for this reason, and I'd really like ask for people to be allies to you. That's, one important thing in your life. Like they
Mm,
might have to be willing to change themselves to a plant-based diet. I mean, it'd be great if they did, because then you're doing it together. But if they're not yet, like say, okay, I respect your choice. I can't tell you what to do. However, like this lifestyle change is really important to me and I need you to support me. And these are the
mm,
ways that it would be helpful, like when we're out to help me look for options when, that will fit my needs, to not just sit there quietly if someone is disparaging what I'm eating, or, that you're going to
mm,
stand by me,
mm,
and know that this is important to me. And a lot of
mm,
times when you do that, like if they are ever going to change, they're more likely to, because you're not pressuring them. You're giving them the space to come to it in their own time. And also, I have found that when I ask for what I need in a respectful way that assumes like maybe they just didn't know, and now I'm sharing it more clearly, people often are more supportive than we expect if we ask them in a way that really invites them rather than attacks them. So it's
mm,
just a thing to be aware of, kind of like I think similar to what you were saying.
mm. I've just written down ask for allyship, not to jump ship.
I like that.
I think that's yeah, I like that. Amazing. Well, thank you so much. I appreciate that. Is there anything else that you had there that we've breezed over or that you want to talk about?
I think we covered a lot of good stuff. I mean, I just want to say that just because we talk about it doesn't mean that it's always easy when you're in the situation. I think it's just keep knowing we're all learning. Like if you have a situation and you didn't handle it well, take some time to reflect and just be like, okay, well, how would I handle that differently in the future so that it really fits with my why, my motivations, that uses that more assertive communication rather than being passive or aggressive,
Mm-hmm.
that honors my boundaries and needs, and also just focuses on connection with people I care about, rather than always having to eat with them, just like, so all these things that we covered, like, okay, where did I maybe not integrate that, and just learn and grow, because it's okay if we don't handle everything perfectly, or we, don't do it all well all the time. It's a growing process.
I love it. I
Mhm.
love it. Amazing. Well, I've been taking notes as we're talking. I'm going to pop those in the comment underneath. Thank you so much for sharing. And I really do want to shine light on the fact that you've got an awesome book coming out next year. This is
Oh,
exciting.
yeah, I am excited. Thank you for mentioning that. It's
Of course.
called The Vegan Transformation, a mind,
Mhm.
body, spirit journey to healing yourself and the world.
I
And
love it. I love it.
Yeah.
Fantastic. First copy over here, please. It can
Yeah, and
line up
it'll be out in
along.
2025. So
That's
it is available on Amazon for pre-order for anybody that just even wants to jump ahead. So
yeah. I mean, please by all
or
means, once this video uploads, drop that link in there.
okay.
I really don't mind our guest experts advertising. I think it's really important to share business and to share knowledge, and you know
Yeah.
the
In my
audience.
book, one of the chapters is on transforming health and taking control of your health, self-empowerment over health. And I share the stories of like several people that I interviewed who went plant-based, whole food plant-based, and the amazing like health and life transformations they had from that. So
Yeah, absolutely. Well, if there's any more room in your book, let me know. If there's any more
awesome.
space, if you've got any more pages, let me know. I'm happy to jump in and do an interview with you. No, I'm
Yeah,
kidding.
I love it. Well,
Okay, so feel free to drop the link for your book underneath this post once it's done.
okay.
Also, where else can we find you?
Yeah, I'm on Instagram and LinkedIn under my name, Angela Crawford, PhD, and I have a website, www.angelacrawfordphd.com. And I also have a YouTube channel, which I hope to perhaps interview you on, Bianca, sometime. It's called The Vegan Transformation, and it's actually about, people's journeys and transformation with the vegan lifestyle.
I
So,
would absolutely love to. I'd be totally honored. I'd be
oh,
honored.
great.
Amazing. Well, once this finishes and uploads and stuff, please by all means drop in your links and stuff
Okay.
underneath the video. So if anyone wants to reach out, they can reach out to you. They can get your book. They can come and watch your YouTube channel. I very much appreciate you coming into our group and sharing all of your wisdom and knowledge. Thank you so much for coming,
Um,
Angela, and spending time with us. I really appreciate it.
well, thank you. It was wonderful to be here and just sending good wishes to you and everyone listening.
Absolutely, absolutely. I'm gonna hit end, so it's just gonna cut everything off completely, but I'll send you a message on Messenger. Thank you so much.
Okay. Take care.
Take
Bye.
care. Bye.